In this video, I documented the first time I watched the Star Wars prequel trilogy. So just for some context, I never watched a Star Wars film until I was 16 or 17, and I watched A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back back to back. I always heard how awful these prequel movies were, and I was never sure about the hype, but I believed it enough to never want to check it out. But I have kept up with the new Star Wars movies, the Disney sequel trilogy, and Han Solo, the Solo, A Star Wars Story, and Rogue One. And I've also really enjoyed The Mandalorian. So I decided finally, look, Star Wars is super popular. There's a reason. There must be a reason. It has totally affected an entire generation. I remember all the kids at school with lightsabers and Darth Vader masks and all this stuff. So I want to know, what makes these movies so popular? So I did a quick time lapse of me watching the movies. I stopped in the middle, and let's just get into the Phantom Menace. Let's go. Okay, so I am about 30 minutes into my first viewing of the Phantom Menace, and so far I have a couple thoughts. Jar Jar Binks is as bad as everybody said he was.
Oh, muy, I love you!
I'm really annoyed. The dialogue is super clunky. Totally get why Harrison Ford said, "You can't write this, bleep." The visuals are pretty good. I think some of the CGI's held up okay. And I think the film looks its best, though, when it's using that classic 35mm film. So yeah, that's my first impressions of the first 30 minutes of the Phantom Menace. We still have a bunch more movies to go. And let's just kick it. So I just finished the pod race, and I'm gonna be honest, that was pretty great. It reminded me a lot of Ben-Hur, you know, even plot-wise. There's a slave trying to free himself through a chariot race, basically. It was intense. It was well choreographed. It looked really good. It did all the good things a chariot race should probably do. So far a mixed bag. That was best thing I've seen yet. So let's see how the rest goes. Okay, so now we're heading into the final battle. You know, it's like typical 3-act final battle of these movies. So far, I think my expectations were so low that I'm actually having a little bit of a good time with this. The dialogue is still really clunky. Getting caught up in all the political mumbo jumbo is a little, you know, tough to watch, but I can kind of see what George Lucas was going for. So let's see how this plays out. So it has just finished. I think, you know, it's a fine movie. I think it's for children, though. That might be where the main anger from fans was when it came out. I think people might have watched Star Wars, the original series, as kids, and then they grew up, got older, and then the exact same movie comes out, and it's still for kids, but they just got older. You know, it's kind of like a fun cartoon adventure. Has all your typical tropes. It's kind of like Ben-Hur meets every other movie with a big battle. I thought the kid that played Anakin was great. I think all the actors were really good. I just think, you know, they're doing the best with what they got. So that's my initial impressions of the Phantom Menace. I think it's Attack of the Clones next, I think. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that for now.
I guess I was wrong. There was no danger at all.
Okay, so I'm about 15 minutes into Attack of the Clones. The visuals are way better. Just like right off the bat, they look much more realistic. The lighting is looking way better, and the dialogue is just as clunky and just as ridiculous as the first one. And one thing I'm confused by is how Anakin has gone from this really selfless, kind little kid, and now he's just an a-hole. So let's see how this plays out. There's a lot of weird George Lucasisms. All like the designs of these spaceships are based on like old, like golden era aviation airplanes and classic cars, and just weird like robots playing like football on TV in the background. It's just weird stuff, but I really like the whole Blade Runner aesthetic that they're going for right now, and I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite part of the past two movies up until now. I'm sure that'll continue, and yeah, let's keep this going. Anakin is creepy, gross, and weird. I just watched the infamous I don't like sand bit, and that's not even the worst part, because he just creeps me out. Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi is bringing all the charm. Anakin is just ruining it. I did say that the special effects have gotten better, but they probably pushed it too far on the clone planet, and I kind of don't even want to know what the rest of that clone planet sequence is going to look like. So, yeah. Let's keep going.
Years ago. You mentioned growth acceleration. Oh yes, it's essential. Otherwise a mature clone would take a lifetime to grow. Now we can do it in half the time.
I see.
They are totally obedient, taking any order without question. We modified their genetic structure to make them less independent than the original.
Okay, I'm about halfway now. The movie's definitely slowed down. Anakin is out to find his mom. He just looks evil. Like, the only scene I liked between him and Padme was the one in the field when he's riding those space cow things. I like Jango Fett. I think he's cool. Yeah. The plot is thickening. Mystery, intrigue. It does remind me a lot of like the Indiana Jones movies, and I think if somebody else directed this and somebody else wrote the dialogue, you got all the great ingredients for a great movie, but it was George Lucas. So is he actually dead? Did they just kill him? Did Mace Windu just capitate his head? Oh, his head was capitated. In front of his son, too. I hope that's a fake out. That he has that personal clone of his from earlier. Sam Jackson's pretty cool, though. Being part of Star Wars and Marvel and so many iconic franchises and movies. Amazing.
There's been some terrible mistake. I'm programmed for etiquette, not destruction.
This is just so ridiculous. Like, it's been like 20 minutes of just CGI explosions, and like, why even have real people? Like, why? Like, I don't think the CGI was quite ready. There was like no physical actual models anywhere. This probably looks like the set of The Lion King, the new one. I'm just really frustrated because Star Wars was pioneering in special effects in so many ways with practical effects in movies, and I guess they pioneered digital special effects too, but I can't see how anybody would take this over practicals. There's still 18 minutes left, so I don't know what's gonna happen. They did a little Death Star cameo, a little Easter egg. Okay, so I just finished the movie, and that was the worst Star Wars movie I've seen. It's just such a CGI crapshoot of a movie. I think those last 45 minutes really spoiled it for me. I wouldn't even let my children watch it. So, yeah, I get why people hate the Clone Wars. Not the Clone Wars, these prequel movies. The first one was fine. The first one was a fine children's movie. This one was garbage. I don't know how anybody thought that looked good. I didn't see one single practical model, and if there's nothing that's real on screen, nobody cares. Why even have real people? So many problems with that movie. Yoda was fine. He's totally fine. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is literally the only reason why I'm continuing watching these movies. Yeah, this is the first Star Wars movie in a while that has generally been offensive. I don't like how old is Natalie Portman in these movies?
All done?
No, 1 second. Okay, Natalie Portman, she seems way too young, especially since the first movie she's just a child. In this movie, she doesn't look much older, and she's being highly objectified just because there hasn't been a woman in the movie for a while. So, I am generally offended by this movie. I don't even want to know what happens in the third one, but I have to finish it. So, here we are. I can see why people are upset. Okay, so now we're on to Revenge of the Sith. I decided I'm just gonna power through it. It's 2 hours, 20 minutes. I don't know what it is about these versions on Disney Plus, but the sound mix is super quiet. Like, I have my speakers all the way up on my computer. I have absolutely zero hopes for this movie. I hope it's not a CGI crapshoot again. I genuinely don't care about any of these characters, and let's go. Okay, just finished the opening scene. Anakin was ready to kill Obi-Wan, basically, in the last movie. He hated him, and now they're best friends. It's still a CGI crapshoot. It's gonna be really difficult to win me back over. Okay, this is already the best one. The thematic through lines are on point. Anakin's beginning his descent. His motivations are so good. The script is good. Dialogue is still clunky, but I think because they're serving a clear, concise running narrative, it doesn't quite come across like that. I like the intrigue. It's kind of similar to The Last Jedi, kind of questioning the good side and the bad side. It's thinking about things more complexly. And, yeah, so I think this is the most adult one so far. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, let's keep going. We're 48 minutes in. And we got an hour and a half left. So let's hope it brings it home. we're at the midway point now. This movie is actually working for me. I didn't think it'd win me back, but it's actually winning me back. Just putting Anakin in this, putting him in an impossible situation between a loved one and his calling, I think is really profound and moving. So we'll see how it plays out. We're at the midway mark. I know ultimately he's going to become Darth Vader, but we'll see. I think Aiden Christensen is redeeming himself. Honestly, I feel really bad for the actors. The fact that they had such challenging lines to work with and not a lot of infrastructure to fight back in the way that the original cast in the original trilogy was able to adjust the lines that they had. So credit to George Lucas for kind of bringing things together in this one. We'll see how the rest plays out, and yeah.
The time has come. Execute Order 66.
My poor heart. That was gut-wrenching. Order 66. My goodness. Just, I get what George Lucas was doing, calling this trying to, I can't, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Yeah, he's pulling it off. Gotta give it to him. Okay. About 53 minutes left, so we'll see how this plays out. We're going into the final showdown. I'm still in it. It's really sad. Very sad. It's like Shakespearean tragedy. Sad. I don't know how it can get worse, but it might. It just might.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my...
Oh my gosh. Those films were completely different from each other. This is by far the best one. And it's probably better than any of the Disney sequel trilogy. I'm gonna need a minute to think about it. It's, he kind of stuck the landing, but, with a little stumble. It's definitely a testament to having a single vision and a single conclusion. Everything leading up to that. I think that's all I can manage right now. So, I'm gonna do some concluding thoughts on each of the films and the trilogy as a whole. Phantom Menace is not a great movie. It is a children's movie, which I understand why the fans of the original trilogy would not be a fan of that. They grew up on these movies, and then by the time this prequel trilogy comes out, they're already older, and this doesn't even appeal to them. Everything about the movie is a kid's movie. You have a kid protagonist in Anakin Skywalker. You have really simple dialogue, which I don't think is unintentional. You have a funny sidekick that knocks things over and hurts himself and talks really funny in a silly voice, which is exactly what kids' movies do.
Or sneeze or burp or fart.
And then you have a final ending with two very recognizable sides fighting each other. They attack the main control ship, and then all the enemies die. So that is probably the most typical ending to a kid's movie that is in this kind of sci-fi genre. On to the Clone Wars? What's it called? I've already forgotten. It's Attack of the Clones. On to Attack of the Clones. This is the only movie that I found truly offensive. Offensive as in bad, unwatchable. The first 3/4 of the film is kind of run-of-the-mill, what you'd expect from the last movie, except Anakin Skywalker is just so unlikable and so creepy, and you just don't want to be around him, And I don't know what, I don't know what happens to his character. He's such a nice little kid, and then he grows up, and he's cocky and selfish and arrogant, and it's almost unexplained. All Obi-Wan says is, oh, your powers have made you arrogant. And that is not enough to justify why he's a total creep, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. The ending of Attack of the Clones is garbage, and I stand by my initial reaction. It is half an hour, 45 minutes of just CGI crap fest that doesn't look like anything. It looks like what I've seen the Clone Wars, the TV show, looks, except with real people green screened in. And it's unwatchable. Nobody cares about these cartoon figures. No one really cares if they succeed. It's shocking that this movie is a movie. And then episode 3. Episode 3. Revenge of the Sith. This film is maybe the only good film. I was so pissed off by the end of Attack of the Clones that my expectations were just in the toilet. So this film had to overcome that, plus actually be a good movie, and it totally did that somehow. The dialogue was still clunky, but the actual groundwork for the movie, placing a protagonist in an impossible circumstance, making impossible choices, absolutely completely worked and made for a really compelling story. And Anakin, in his quest to save the love of his life, descends into darkness, and it's kind of that archetypal story of somebody trying to do good things and resulting in destruction and actually hurting what they set out to fix. So this is the only movie I'd recommend seeing. If people have really downed on Revenge of the Sith, I don't think it's completely warranted. It has all the symptoms of these prequel movies. It has the clunky dialogue. It has the awkward acting, just all the weirdness you'd expect from a George Lucas film. But in a lot of ways, the actual structure and everything leading up to the film make it too big to fail. That final scene with the lava and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin are fighting, that was the only thing that got me in the entire prequel trilogy, when Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "I loved you like a brother." He just totally brought it home. And even though there was all this awkwardness around it, I believed him. And I teared up a little bit, but that was about the only emotional connection I had to any of the 3 movies. And I don't think, like a Chris Nolan movie, the actual structure and storytelling was enough to compensate for the lack of emotional nuance in the film. So for my final thoughts on the trilogy as a whole, Obi-Wan is the only reason why I kept with these 3 films. Watching his development from a Padawan to a mentor that ultimately is betrayed by his best friend is so compelling and such an emotionally resonant arc. Ewan McGregor absolutely kills it. Nails it, and I can't wait for that Obi-Wan solo show that's going to be on Disney+. He is so good. Overall, I was thoroughly underwhelmed by the villains of the prequel trilogy. I can't even tell you who the villain, and I watched this film yesterday. I can't tell you who the villain was in the first one. I can't. The second movie with Count Dooku, I think it was an interesting attempt at trying to find nuance in between the motivations between the good guys and the bad guys, and trying to identify both sides of the war as morally upright in some ways, it totally doesn't pay off and is a total mess. And I honestly, I didn't care. So, to talk about Emperor Palpatine for a second, he looks evil the entire time. Like, I don't know how nobody sees it. Like, it's not just because I've seen the original trilogy, but he looks evil. He works from a completely black room. It's totally unbelievable that none of the Jedi or anyone else couldn't have seen it coming, because I don't have the Force, and I could absolutely tell that he was up to no good. So it's shocking. It's shocking. The ultimate payoff with Darth Vader at the end is it's tragic, and I think that third film, the tragedy aspects of the film is totally works and is totally so good, but it doesn't cover the sins of the first two movies. So my final thoughts are Phantom Menace. It's a children's movie, so don't give it a hard time. Just remember, if you are a grown person, this movie is not for you. Attack of the Clones is garbage. Don't watch it. There's almost nothing redeeming about that film. It made me so mad. It objectifies Natalie Portman in such a weird way. And she was 21 when they filmed it, but it's like having her as a kid in the first one, and then all of a sudden having her in like crop tops, and like it's too much. Revenge of the Sith is a good movie. Maybe just read the plot synopsises of the first two and then go right into it. I think that's fine. So I don't think the hate, especially for Phantom Menace, is warranted, and I think the more time goes on, the more level-headed everybody's gonna be. Nobody's ever gonna be level-headed about Star Wars. If you guys have any other classic movies that you want me to see for the first time that I haven't, leave it in the comment section. I haven't seen Ghostbusters or Jurassic Park, or I haven't seen Lord of the Rings either, so if you guys want to see me injure myself mentally trying to watch all these movies in one video, then please comment below and let me know what you want me to watch. Oh my gosh. I think that's about it. I'm exhausted. Hello, welcome to the end screen. Thanks for watching the whole video. I would appreciate a like, comment, and a subscribe. I'm sure if you made it all the way through, you probably liked the video. And this video drove me crazy. These movies were not great. So, it'd be well appreciated. Hope you have a great day. Thank you.